Today on this video, we're going to talk about split testing landing pages, specifically having to do with running PPC campaigns, whether it's Google, Facebook, whatever. How to test, a landing page the most efficient way possible when you're starting to get into or unfamiliar with testing landing pages out to get ultimately more conversions per click or more revenue per dollar spent on ads. What I'm going to tell you specifically is about how to actually be able to, where to start out with. So you're going to cut through all the BS and get to the stuff that has the highest impact, roughly speaking, with the lowest amount of effort, roughly speaking. And with that, the reason why I can tell you that is because I've ran dozens and dozens and dozens of different landing page split tests in the past, because I run a PPC agency here with a few dozen clients, been doing PPC for the last 15 years. I've distilled kind of all my knowledge down into the different types of landing page split tests that you could run and what actually has the biggest impact. Also, what generally, more importantly, what actually generally gets a result. Because if I do a test for a client, obviously it's wasting my time and it wastes our money to test something that's probably not going to work. So whereas something might have a big impact, if the likelihood is not like 90% sure I'm going to get a result, i.e. higher conversion rate, higher profit margin from what we're doing, then I just don't do that, okay? These are all respectively 90% likelihood or higher. If you do these things I'm going to share with you on this video that I normally test at least first, because it has the most likelihood of working and doesn't take that much effort. Similarly, and also has a decent size impact where you're getting double-digit gains in your conversion rate at minimum. And then eventually you can get to the more kind of speculative stuff, but these are the things that have the biggest impact, easy to do, so on and so forth. Like I said, I'm going to give you what those strategies are. I'm going to tell you why these specifically work. And I'm also going to give you examples of where I've used these in the past, plus what kind of actual impact it's gotten from prior clients where we used it and industries where we used it. So you can see basically how this works for e-commerce, also non-e-commerce, and for different types of businesses within both of those different categories, okay? So you're going to walk away with the turnkey money-making method strategy to be able to start using today. Go out there, and doesn't take a lot of thinking because I've done all the thinking for you here. So anyway, let's get into it. I will be covering both, like I said, e-commerce business, the type of landing page split test you want to do to figure out what to test first was like 90% sure that'll get you a higher conversion rate, and also what has the highest impact. Also, what to do for non-e-commerce businesses if you're on one of those, as each has their own quote-unquote order in which I test things. So the order I gave you, this isn't random. I've methodically found the things that I usually test first, and then second, and then third, so on and so forth. So as I'm listing these off for you, you can assume that's the case. In which I have tested the things on our own for our own clients' campaigns, of course for our own business too, for different things that we run, but which we test for our clients first on a regular basis because they usually always get results, and the results are pretty nice. For a lot of you, you should be looking at your top competitor or examples of how our landing pages are set up on our landing page portfolio at guaranteedppc.com. To start with, before you run any kind of split test at all, this isn't a pitch, by the way, this is practical advice. I'd want this advice if I were starting out. To see the key landing page styles that normally work for an e-commerce versus a non-e-commerce brand that's running PPC, that will put you at least half of the way there to making millions of dollars from your PPC ad campaigns that you likely are rabid for to start with. The reason for that is because it's very, very hard to compete in a competitive market where there's 4 ads on top of Google. A lot of people don't realize Google rotates out those people who's there. And if you do enough searches, you'll figure that out. There's like 20 people in and out of that spot. So there's basically 20 people in your market, whether you're a local business or not, that want those customers, okay? Who gets them, by the way, is going to be the top 20% most efficient, and gets them and gets a good majority of them and also is making money from them. All three of those things, it's usually the top 20% at any given time. Otherwise, most people are kind of breaking even or they're losing money. So, but it's very hard right off the bat to be competitive at all if you have a crap website or crap page where you're sending people to. Why? This is no offense to you or anybody else. It's a very touchy subject, as we even talk to our clients that try to be our clients, I should say, coming in. If your website looks like dog crap, the consumer is going to judge a book by its cover and assume, oh, this company's website looks like dog crap. Therefore, their service is dog crap. Okay? This is not fair. Life is not fair. Marketing, especially, is not fair. If you put yourself in the consumer's shoes, if you Google for pool construction company in Los Angeles, you want a new pool installed on your McMansion, whatever. You have a dozen options on Google to click from. You know you can click on anything you want. Plus, if you don't like what you see when you get to the page, you can easily click back to Google and click on something in 2 seconds, right? So you don't want to have to do that, but if you get the feeling that you're going to be wasting your time or something just doesn't quite sit right with you, they're gone. And you have a few seconds in which to convey that you can do what you do, that you can do it specifically for that person, and can you be trusted? And the trusted is the big part. If your website looks and when I say bad quality website, to put that in a frame of reference, we're talking about stuff that's not symmetrical. The design doesn't look like it's high end in terms of was it made by an actual professional firm that charges not $5,000 for a website, but like $50,000. Because websites don't cost $5,000 a month anymore. I don't know why people still think this. This is what it cost in 2010. Websites have gotten more complicated now. Competition has risen. And so, respectively, whether or not people don't know anything about the web design industry, all they know is they look at that page and they have a preconceived notion of what a website should look like before they get to your website based upon other websites that they've seen in the past and that they trusted versus not trusted. And a lot of this is buried in their subconscious. So when they get to the page, they're going to be judging you based upon those standards that they've had in the past of all other websites they've seen since the start of the internet, basically. And in the first few seconds, if it doesn't look like because a successful company that makes millions of dollars a year doing pool construction, which you would want to hire anyway, if they can't spend 50 grand on a decent website that anybody can do, it's not that much of a mystery to go hire a high-end web design firm so that your website looks as good as the pools you install. I don't have to stay there. Why should I stay there? I'm looking for any reason to narrow down my choice of who to hire because I have all these options. I don't know who to choose, which is giving me anxiety all in itself. If there's anything that's giving me a bad feeling at all, I'm just clicking back in Google and I'm gone. So it doesn't matter how good your PPC campaign is set up, in other words. If that website doesn't meet a minimum standard, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. You can sit there and say you've invested all this money in your website and time invested into it, all you want. The sooner you figure out, assuming this is the case, that your website's crap, you wasted your money, you got it ripped off, you got to be able to get a different website from somebody else that's more expensive than you think it should be, you're never going to get anywhere. So, and how you do that, like I said, go and look at your top competition. Go to spyfu.com. First make a note of all the people that are advertising in your market. Then type their websites in one by one into SpyFu. Click on the PPC tab. See and rank by who's got the biggest budgets. Generally speaking, the people that have been running them the longest. People that have been running a consistently high budget for at least a couple of years probably is making money. Or at the very least, you can rank who's spending the most and also who's been spending it the longest. That also tells if it's profitable, because if it's not profitable, a lot of people spend a lot, then they go broke 6 months later. So that's not a clear indication that that person's making money. Therefore, you would want to copy them. Therefore, you want to know as a benchmark of what it takes to be successful with your website just to start with, And then you just try to, the top 20%, you'll look at their websites and you compare it to your own. Not only that, people get emotional about, again, they don't want to admit that they got ripped off by somebody. I see this all the time. So they'll stick to a website that loses them money because of their ego. Go and ask a few people that have nothing to do with your business and don't know you, and let them judge their website versus yours and see who they do business with if they were going to do business and they had to buy what you were selling. Then you'll get the honest opinion you need to know if you actually are in the running now to actually make money. Okay? If you're good enough, okay, great. We can continue. If not, get a better website, basically. But and if you're an e-commerce business, it's the same way. And in e-commerce, it's actually even more so. People that put their credit card information on your site need even more trust. And I've seen it, the last 10 years, the people that have made it versus the people who have not are the people who invested into their websites to make it better and stay out ahead of the pack versus the people that were sitting pretty, that were making money in 2010 and never really, and kept too much of the profit, didn't invest into their site, they're gone. I mean, they're weeded out. I'm sure in your market, if you've been around that long, you'll have seen there was 100 competitors and now there's, 20 because of that exact reason. So anyway, with all that said, the page has to look good. You got to have your testimonials or reviews on there. You've got to have your certain content broken up in a certain way that you'll notice that all the top guys or gals have kind of a certain cadence to their page. It's not about also just how good it looks, but how it's broken up. Is it easy to understand? Do I have to think hard to understand what I need to have? Is there too much information? Is there not enough? Is it easy to find the information that I need without getting bogged down with other information? There's so many things there. If you're not a conversion rate expert, you just have to go to a high-end firm that has enough money to actually have one, not a graphics designer who knows how to make pretty shapes, but somebody who understands conversion psychology and conversion rate testing, has done conversion rate testing to get you up there. Because you on your own with no experience aren't going to be able to tell for sure what's good, so therefore you just have to make sure you hire the right person. Anyway, half of the battle with landing page testing is just starting out with a good page. Once you get there, all these other things will put you at an extra 100, 200, 300% increase in your conversion rate on top of that. You already can be in the top, you have the capability to be in the top 20% just by having a website that has all the proper elements, it looks pretty, whatever, eye candy. You start adding this stuff in, now you're guaranteed to be number one in your market. Find me a market where I can't add this stuff to a decent website and I can't be 1% in the top, the top person in terms of the conversion rate. I will gladly explain, I guess, why. But these are things that, the reason why that's the case is these are things that other people 90% of the time don't worry about. Why don't they worry about it? Because they're lazy, they're apathetic, they don't want to do it themselves. It takes a lot of time. They tell themselves they don't need to do it because they're lazy, they make excuses, or they'll hire a firm. That firm's supposed to do it. The more work they put in, the less money they make, so therefore they don't give a crap to do it. And then so therefore nobody does it. So this stuff, because I know 90% of people don't do it, you do it, you automatically are going to make a ton more money. Because everything in PPC to get in that top 20% that's making all the money is simply doing a better job serving your consumers than the other people, because Google wants to promote you, your consumers want to buy from you, and you get rewarded. And that's how the cream rises to the top, basically. So anyway, if you're an e-commerce business versus non-e-commerce, I'll get to non-e-commerce here in a minute. Here's the things that I would normally test on a landing page once it's obviously up to a certain standard. Went through that whole rant. The first thing I'm going to test is, in terms of e-commerce, where am I sending people to? Am I sending people to a product page on my site? Am I sending them to a category page? Or am I sending them to a search results page? A lot of people don't think about this, but you have to evaluate, is it a product page I send people to, or category page, or a search results page? I could type my keyword. If I'm using one keyword per ad group, which I recommend everybody to do because that gets amazing results. I do it on every campaign I run. If I type the keyword into the search results bar, now I have a page that I can send people to that says right in the heading what the keyword is, and then has the most relevant results. Anyway, respectively, because you have a keyword for every ad group, now you can split, you have the ability to test one page versus another for every keyword, what you want to do, because each keyword behaves so much differently than another. In order to run a proper test, you need to be able to run your landing page test, boil down to one single type, one single keyword or one single audience to do a proper split testing. Some keywords you'll find, most of them, you'll find 80% do better on product category or search result, but they'll need another 20 basically that does with, one of these other ones. Anyway, by each ad group, you could just test. You have 3 ads, one that sends people to the product page, one that sends people to a category page, and one that sends people to the search results page. And then you just see what happens. Once you've done that, you should be able to get another 10 to 100% conversion rate from every ad group you have then. Did an example of that. And again, I put this in the order of ease in terms of what you can do to quickly make more money. That's obviously something even a non-expert could do that I gave you so far for number 1. I did this for a CNC company. When somebody's looking for a 4-axis CNC machine, respectively, we don't know if they want a product to look at right away to just make things easier based upon how that user is normally geared versus going to a page that has more than one 4-axis CNC on it. Based upon the knowledge level of that user at the time, one will work better than the other. You're only going to know which way it'll go until you've tested it. And respectively, if somebody types in a 4-axis direct drive CNC machine, that person's a totally different person than somebody who types in 4-axis CNC machine. And it could go to where they want to see now category page versus a product page because they're more knowledgeable. That's why you want to split test this on a keyword by keyword basis, which requires 1 keyword per ad group to do it. You'll get the most results that way. But yeah, I mean, that's a quick gimme that you want to do. And now in that particular situation, in these examples of different markets I'm giving you with each one of these, like the CNC, that got a nice bump in the higher range of this 10 to 100%. So giving you examples of how much this works along with everything else, like I said at the start of the video. Number 2, second easy thing you can do in these list of things or in the order of things. Find out which product page or which category page. So you'll realistically, once you run each keyword, you'll send 1/3 of the traffic to a product page that you think is the best, 1/3 of the traffic to the category page that you think is the best, and 1/3 of the traffic to the search results page you think is the best. You don't have to do it like that for every keyword if it's obvious which one will work better, but once you find out which a product page works better than a category and a search results page, you need to find the best product page to send people to. So you'll find the top 2 pages that you think will be good for that keyword. And yes, you're going to have to do a manual selection of products that you think work the best for each keyword to set up your second stage of split tests for each ad group. Then you'll find out which product works the best for most keywords, and then there'll be some where one product works better than another. Same thing if you find a category page work better, you'll test the category page versus another category page if it's relevant for your market. And then you get the idea. It's the same thing with the search results pages. Search results for if I type in this keyword versus another keyword that's like it, but not quite the same. The search results are ordered a little different. Which one is most ideal? And you can't only find that out unless you test it. We did this in the paint space. I won't tell you the exact market, but respectively, one product over another got 100% more revenue per click. Because when you're doing e-commerce, you're optimizing for revenue per click. And respectively, once that was found out, we could do that same thing for all similar products, which is about half the account. And now we get a 100% increase in revenue potential per dollar spent on ads just because we did that one very thing. Typically, you'll get 25 to an additional 100% in additional profit, or if you want to list it as ROI respectively, those are the percentage you get ROI and profit obviously are going to be different, but 25 to 100% more profit from the same exact ad spend that you have just running that split test right there. Number 3, in terms of the order of things that I do things in which easy money for you to be able to do, next is the headline. keyword matching in the headline. I talk about this a lot in other videos. You take your page, and if you're using Shopify, it's still easy to do. You take your product page, let's say you find out for, 4-axis CNC, like example I gave you before, or in this case, it's a product that helps with snoring. If the keyword is anti-snoring product, okay, you find out sending them to the product page works the best already now, and this specific product page versus this one over here, because we did that in the first 2 tests, then what we're going to do is test, should we send people to the same exact page we have figured out that we were, is our standard or control for before, or should we send them to a page that's just like the page that we had, whether product or category page, and then take the headline that's there on that page and customize it for the keyword. So if I type in anti-snore product, then the headline on that product page should be anti-snore product. Okay, versus, snore removal product, which is what the page had in the headline before. Okay? Because respectively, if somebody types in mandibular anti-snore device, obviously that if the headline on the landing page says that, and that's exactly what they typed in, they're going to convert at a higher rate because there's going to be less potential confusion. You're helping them figure out what they want faster. Anytime you can help them figure out what they want faster and less confusion, you get more conversion rate. That's just how all this stuff works. Okay? That ultimately, if you want to boil it down to how to get more conversion rate, that's always those 2 things right there is how you do it. How do I provide more, or how do I provide what they want ultimately with less effort and less confusion? Right there. In that particular case, I did it for a snore product. We had an additional 20 to 60% there in that range, which is the typical additional profit just by doing that keyword trick. Okay? So in Shopify, yes, it's possible to take a product page and clone it so you can have a different headline, same everything else, but the keyword is now, you could customize the headline so the keyword is in the headline, and then you make a clone and you do it for another keyword so that this other second keyword could be matched in the headline. And then you keep doing it and you make hundreds of pages because you have hundreds of keywords hypothetically, or generally speaking, you should have hundreds of keywords in your account. You shouldn't be trying to cover everything in your market with like 20 or 30 keywords because that's not the most efficient way to do things, so that you can have ads that tightly match what the keyword is. So they type in, mandibular anti-snore device. You want the ad to say that, or as close to the user search as you can, which more keywords allow you to do that, and then take them to a page now that has anti-snore mandibular device on the headline of the landing page. You get it, but it's 20 to a 60% extra conversion rate like clockwork. Obviously, that'll work every single time, by the way. I usually run in that ad group, I'll send half the traffic to the new page that I created and half to the existing, because it'll create less up and down results before you get the big bump in conversion rate, because Google's algorithm hates change. So until the new page is recognized by Google as better, then for like 2 or 3 months, I'll run both and then just shut the old page off. Just a little extra trick if you can't stand volatility of results, you rely on a certain amount of sales on an ongoing basis or a regular basis. 4, product image style. So basically, how is the main product page that shows up that you have on your product page now? Is it a lifestyle image or not? So basically, plain white background, or you're going to have somebody actually using the product or showing it, like if you sell a grill, is it out there on a picnic table showing how it would be used so the user can visualize it better? That right there is usually my first test. Okay, that's going to get you a huge result on top of everything else, another 10 to 100% just by figuring out lifestyle versus not lifestyle. If you are using lifestyle now, some keywords that send traffic to the page, or in general, you'll find out the white background's better. So even if you don't have a huge 100% gain in conversion rate from this, you'll get some 10, 20, 30%, because some of the ad groups that go to some of the keywords will actually do better with the alternate, because not every single keyword is going to behave the same way. And when I say style, there's other things that you can change. You can have your white background image if that works better. You can go further and test, should I have things on the image that make it look like it's glowing, or if a product vibrates, add little, things around the product showing it vibrates. In our particular case where we sold screws and fasteners, the screw we had, like one of those hole, here's the screw, right? And then we had a line next to the screw showing it's 3 inches tall. Now, that says it on the description already, but showing that visual on the image grabs the eye more, okay? Which is half of, or more of this is just actually about. You have 8 seconds to get their attention to see if they're gonna commit to really researching your product or not when they hit the page. If you have something that other people don't have now and grabs the eye, you have more chance to keep them over that 8-second threshold to where now they're invested into researching that product. Because until they've met that threshold, whether they're going to leave or not, they're thinking, should I leave, should I leave, should I leave? Just another way to get them to get them over that threshold. You're trying to, because they'll stick, pretty well after that 8-second threshold. So with that, okay, we got another 10 to 100% in that particular situation, just having the line, here's the product here, and then there's a line showing 3 inches next to it. We've done it with products where, like a massager, where it had the vibrating, so it looked like it's vibrating versus the product itself. In the grill example, we had it with it was outdoor, showing it on a picnic table versus the grill by itself. That also helped in that situation. Not too often where you have a lifestyle image, we're going to a plain white background, that the plain white background beats it. Why? Because most people use the plain white background, but it doesn't mean it won't be the case or can't be the case. Why is that? Because it takes extra effort to do a lifestyle image, right? So it's then therefore you're standing out for the user, and when they get to the page, they think it looks interesting, and it goes back to that thing, they're less likely to leave right away within that first 8 seconds because you got something that's different, unique, and eye-pleasing enough to just keep them, on the site just that little bit longer to get over that 8 seconds to where they're really invested in researching your product now. You can also do same exact product. If it's white background that works, you can rotate it. Sometimes you can show it from the reverse. Sometimes you can add a drop shadow or remove it. Sometimes a bigger drop shadow. Sometimes you'll also be able to, have different shadowing. Add a glare on the face of, if it's a watch, add a little bit of glare, remove the glare. You'd be surprised. All these things can give double-digit increases in your conversion rate, some more than others. And those are just things that all the little tricks that we have to be able to test that. And it's the main image that you do it on. The rest of these secondary images, not really going to give you that bigger results, but on that main image, absolutely so. And respectively, each product will behave a little bit differently. So just because it works on one product doesn't mean all your products will now have a shadow. Don't go doing that. You'll definitely do that on the rest of the products, but you'll split test it for every keyword, like I've mentioned on this whole video, how to go about doing this. If it worked for one, 80% of them, it'll work great, better for the other keywords, 20% not. Well, you just won't run it on that 20%. And that'll make a big difference in your end result, so that you're only using it on the part that actually gave you the lift. Okay? So then price is the last one, ending in 7. So basically, the end digit, for some reason, I don't know the exact reason, I'll be honest, but when you have $19.99, you switch the price to $19.97, a lot of times you'll get a higher conversion rate. Okay? This is well researched. You can find other studies on this. We did this in the adult toy space, and just switching the prices to 7 made a big difference on the results. And that just by if the 7 doesn't work for you, you can play the game with the 0. I'll explain in a minute. You can easily get 25 to 150% increase in conversion rates just with that 7 trick. I've seen it. You could also do adding or removing of a 0, mainly removing. If your product is $110, you'd be surprised how much of a difference your sales are going to take a hit. Or if you were at 90 something, and how much your sales are going to take a hit if you switch to 105, because there's a strong psychological threshold seeing 2 digits versus 3. What you can do, okay, we were in the supplement space. Actually, that situation, it wasn't the 0 per se that we were doing. Well, we would test 49 versus 59, given that that seems a lot different, because if you're under 100, that's kind of more so what you're shooting for, and see, you know, where the sales lie. And you're saying, I know already, but Corey, I have tight margins, I can't do that. If you can't, you know, test lowering it $10 and see starting with a 4 does versus starting with a 5. And then you could play with your shipping prices. Maybe you could just add an additional $7 to your shipping. So you'll notice that your conversion rate goes up 30% going from 40 to 50. You'll have to do this on a product by product basis, obviously, which because you have a keyword for every ad group, you can do it at that level with your testing and increase your shipping. And then you got a formula that works. Some people, you're going to add in, you're going to look at lifetime value. Respectively, in that particular client situation, this is supplements like muscle building supplements, protein powders and stuff. When somebody bought a protein powder, normally they would buy quite a bit more over their lifetime, right? The value was in acquiring the customer because they'd spend a lot more in the future. So switching from 59 to 49 wasn't that big of a difference because they bought an average of 3 times more in the future. So the extra $10 to get the 30% lift in conversion rate, well, works out. So you got to be also thinking about lifetime value when you do this stuff, not just what the initial conversion rate is a lot of times when you, obviously when you're, or specifically when you're talking about playing with pricing, but there's a huge difference when you go from 90 to 100. Anytime you go from 3 digits to 4 digits, it's going to be the same thing. 4 digits to 5 digits. You're talking about 100% difference in conversion rate, switching from 3 to 4 to 4 to 5, like that, just like what I said. So if you can do that and think about upsells, maybe there's cross sells. Maybe you could think about, you know, obviously telling them if they buy 3, once they've already bought, you call them up and say, I'll give you 2 more for this discounted price, and then make it work that way. There's so many different angles you can make this work. To make sure you're still hitting your level of margins and get that double-digit increase or 100% increase sometimes in conversion rate, switching from a 90 to 100 versus a 900 to 1,000. So respectively, if you get between the 7 and removing the 0 though, 25 to 150% increase in profit / conversion rate, doing that kind of stuff on a regular basis. Okay, so that all said, that gives you a pretty good idea of what to start with if you're an e-commerce business, what to test first, and examples from different markets, what you can do in different situations, like the adding or removing a 0, or we got 100% lift in conversion rate. Also, I did mention it in this paint space, switching to send people to, not even switching the, and this is another way you could do it, switching the price on the page itself, but sending them to a product that was, if you want to test removing a 0, adding or removing a 0, you could start with having 2 different products that they're similar, one that's a little bit less than 100, one that's a little bit more than 100, and split test setting into 2 different products in order to be able to test whether or not going from 2 to 3 digits will work for you. You know, you're losing $10 in revenue, but you're increasing 100% conversion rate. You hit the jackpot, basically, and then you can start to do that with the rest of your products. So, but anyway, I gave you a pretty good idea for e-commerce guys and gals out there what to do, what to test first, what has good results with little effort, and it works basically every time, 90+% of the time. For non-e-commerce businesses, it's less complicated, more simple to execute. The first thing, but it's similar to what we were doing on the e-commerce side. For the headline, so the first thing I'm going to test every time is just the headline. I mentioned how to do this before. Essentially, you because you have a keyword and 1 keyword per ad group in your account, so you can have an ad with ultimately that keyword in the first headline there, because that's the formula that works the best for me every time. I do every time now, have for 5+ years now. You're going to send people to a page now that the headline now matches what's in the first headline of that ad, in which also matches the keyword and what they typed in. With that, you'll, like clockwork, get another 40 to 60% increase in your conversion rate, and that's all you have to do. I did that in the electrical space, like electrical contract services, basically with that. I mean, as an example, if you have it's like you have a broken outlet and you're looking for an electrical contractor. For people typing in broken outlet, electrical contractor, Miami, and now you have an ad that says, of course, already, you just should be doing this by default, doing this by default anyway, where now the ad, the first headline there says, broken outlet, electrical contractor, Miami. So they know, obviously, if there's 4 ads there, it's always about getting the user to immediately want to click on yours by default. So you can, instead of getting a 3% click-through rate, you're getting an 8% conversion rate, which that kind of thing can do in a less competitive, market in general. Less competitive being you're not in a national market with, hundreds of millions of dollars behind them to test these things, which they still don't do it that often. But anyway, and with that got, that 50% conversion rate bump in that exact example with the electrical contractor, just by doing what I said, making sure the headline matched the keyword, broken outlet, electrical contractor in Miami, because right when they hit the page, they know exactly you do what they want to do. Obviously, the page, as long as the page looks credible, you always want to make sure your reviews there on your Google, Yelp, whatever is right there visible on the page. They're going to call a majority of the time. You can get a 50% increase in conversion rate. That's all you had to do. Usually, you can easily get somebody to obviously execute that for you. You can do it starting with one page, see it works, tell a team member on your staff to replicate this for all the rest of your keywords. When you're talking about landing pages, it's easier than with like an e-commerce site to copy the pages, so there's no reason not to do it. You simply, if in WordPress, there's a plugin you can download that you can make a clone of a page with one click. You clone it, customize the headline. You're going to have to handwrite the headlines. Don't use software. It's the same thing with the ads. Don't use software to customize the keyword and put the keyword in the ad. You're going to have someone look at the keyword and actually type in a decent or the best headline they can that matches that keyword, and then save your page, link it up with your ad that goes for that keyword. You're done. Do it for each keyword. Now you got 50% increase in leads, and that's all you had to do. Second, once you get past that, the second most easiest thing to do is just change the offer, which a lot of people who run local businesses, like service businesses, like plumber, whatever, foundation repair, they're all thinking about what is their offer past. Yay, hey, we offer foundation repair. Or what I like to call also, or similar, alternatively call adding a sweetener. So in the plumbing space, this was, instead of just saying plumbing services, we say plumbing services, call for our special rate for Valentine's Day. Being close to Valentine's Day, you see that in your ad for plumber, special rate for today, call about Valentine's Day rate. Now you're like, oh, I have to see what that is. Now you could get an additional, 50 to 100% increase in leads just from doing that one thing on your landing page. You put that language in your ad to get a higher click-through, but then now you add it on your landing page. So I would just recommend doing both at the same time. If the ad doesn't match up, because that's what the most logical thing to do. But in that situation, you can get easy like a doubling. That I love that offer. Now call for special rate, or similar, call for a special price. Mention this ad, call and mention this ad for a special rate or price. There's different variants there. Different ones will work for different markets, but pretty much that's the general idea. You do it. I've seen it multiple times where you can double your conversion rate by doing that. If you don't want to do that, there's other offers you can do. And I have a whole video about landing page offers on this channel. You can do, for a moving company, we offer free boxes. Okay. Other types of situations, you can say, we've even had it in the personal injury space. We will free pickup at your location. And that worked. To get creative, if everybody else has personal injury lawyer, and then personal injury lawyer, free pickup at your location, just call now or something like that, what are you going to choose? It's all about how can I stand out? Stand out. Now you potentially have a big edge, as long as the offer obviously is enticing. You can't have a crap you gotta, and if you don't know, you test a few different offers out to find out, you just come up with crazy ideas. Test 10 different ones so you find the peak one to use and then use it from now on. But 50 to 100% increase on a landing page for a service just by figuring out and adding an offer, period. And the third one is the price. Once I've done the 1 and 2, I'm going to go ahead and test the price. If obviously we have a price, so this obviously doesn't apply to everybody. A lot of people argue with me, or argue in general. They don't think that they should list pricing on their site. If you list pricing on your site, it'll cut down way on the crap calls that you get, by the way. Yes, if you're hungry for every last lead, you can do that. But even then, I've ran tests in a couple situations already where adding the price actually increased the leads even more so. Why? Because people like when you have that information about pricing on your site. They'll say pricing, and then they're really deep into it. Now you got them past that 8-second threshold, like I said, where they're deciding to leave or not. You're hooking them in. So, but in that situation, it's similar to what I talked about for e-commerce businesses. You can change the price that you have so that it ends in 7. In a lot of markets, just because you have a price, by the way, you're going to crush it. Like in the electrical services market, a lot of people don't have prices anywhere on their site or on their ad. So if you have an ad right away that has, anytime you have numbers on an ad and there ain't numbers on any other ads, you'll usually double your click-through rate right there. But now, once you've done that, the difference between having $99 versus $97 for a service call or what have you, that can double your click-through and your conversion rate on top of that. Why is that? The power of 7. There's a psychological something or other where people respond to prices that end in 7 more so. And I was totally thrown back by this because I didn't trust it. You know, when I first started, like, how the hell could it do that? The 7, like what? Tested it out in the moving company, price $2.99. That did okay. Switching it to $2.97 doubled the click-through rate, okay? And I'm dead serious about this. If you do have price in the ad or landing page now, change it to ending in 7. You can have a similar change like that. Doubling isn't your typical, so I left it more conservative, looking at through our notes where you can get a 40 to 60% increase in your conversion rate, but you'll definitely get something when you're switching it to a 7, or if that, just based upon your market, you might actually find out what works better is adding or removing a 0. If it's possible, you're closer to $100 or closer to $1,000 range. We had in the environmental testing space, like where you have test the air for mold particles, or you test different services to see if there's lead there. That would be environmental testing services. First of all, having price in the ad and landing page worked really amazingly well. But there, in that case, saying $90-some versus like $120, that right there, 50+% increase in conversion rate on the landing page doing that. Obviously, by having it on the ad, just switching that number there increased the conversion rate or the click-through rate here. So where this will increase your profitability of your landing page by 40 to 60% just through the increase in conversion rate. A lot of these things, including this one, because you have an increase in click-through rate, your increase in click-through rate will drop your cost per click cost a considerable amount. And now instead of having a 40 to 60% increase in profit, you have closer to a double, okay? Because higher click-through rate is directly related to cost per lead due to reducing cost per click directly from having a higher than average click-through rate or higher than you had before, directly relates to lower cost per click and then therefore lower cost per lead. But anyway, I'll wrap it up with that. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel. I have quite a few other videos about different money-making PPC strategies on this channel. If you haven't seen any of my other videos yet, you should definitely check them out. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns that are guaranteed to work for our clients and what I use for our clients. If you'd like to see information along those lines, I have it there. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the content, and I certainly would hope and expect you to see on my next video on another strategy that helps you with your PPC a little bit more in another day or two. See you then.